Test, 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 test. Bloggers, bloggers, bloggers. Uh, Alright, so we're gonna have this little fun bug. There we go. I can spell. Alright, so now we go ahead and I think I got everything set. So we go aim, camera, hide, play. Leader needs to be that. Make sure I got my Discord status. There we go. So now I can see my little green circle. Noise. Bam. I go 10%. Means I should be able to. Boom. There we go. Nice. Except for that little bug. I think it's because I'm sitting on the edge. There we go. Alright. Dead by Daylight. My copy. Right there. That loads in real quick. Let me switch it over for Thinny Cat. So she has something else to listen to besides random rambling. We'll throw it on American Dad, why not? All Adult Swim, so that's fine. I can stay there for a little bit. There you go. One little teeny tiny corner. Hey Trendy, how you doing, friend? Hope you are doing well. Hope you are doing well. Not gonna play Blight. That's not gonna happen. We'll start with our first game of the night, which will, again, just feeling it out how it goes. Be a 2-hour night because it's Sunday. And again, happy Easter to our Orthodox friends. As for those that don't know, Western World Easter, which would basically be Catholicism, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, etc., 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 was last Sunday. But this Sunday is Russian, Greek, Lithuanian, Byzantine, and some of the other orthodoxies have their Easter this Sunday instead. So, That is why the title is what it is. It's the only weird holiday that's actually split. Everything else usually falls together at the same time. Let's go with... That should be fine, I think. Cheers. I was going to do Zelda tonight. I was sitting there and I was thinking, maybe Skyward Sword would be fun. But Skyward Sword is such a long game that I don't think realistically I could finish it in 3 days. Especially given that the Dead by Daylight patch is Tuesday. If it wasn't for the DVD patch, I'd say screw it, let's do DVD all next week. Or not DVD, but Skyward Sword all next week. But yeah. I might do Skyward Sword offline. And then we'll probably do Link's Awakening and maybe 1 or 2 other little Zelda games. Before Breath of the Wild 2 drops. Maybe Refreshment Run or Breath of the Wild in general. Because we already beat it once on regular, we beat it once on Master Mode. We did all the challenges and all that stuff. We got all the collections. We can just do one quick vanilla run for the hell of it, I guess. Jake Park from State Farm over there can't make up his mind what he wants to play. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 1. Flashlight, no flashlight. He just can't make up his mind. Which to choose. Yeah, I thought so. The other thing we might do, and I don't know if I want to do it or not on stream, if finances look good, I might buy Advanced Wars and do a couple of those, because that might be fun. Advanced Gear Wars. I might wait and see how the initial review on that is before I buy it. I'm on the fence. It looks good, but it doesn't look like Link's Awakening good, you know, where they really went the extra mile. So I want to see if they changed the mechanics too drastically, they made it too easy or not. If it's not that good, then I'll just take the cash and work on the other stuff, and yeah. So Zelda next month, which is May. June, we're doing Diablo. And providing Diablo 4 has actual endgame like Diablo 3, then we could really play around with that and make Dead by Daylight some filler in between. And really focus on those two. But I'm not going to be chasing every single new game. There's just too much money to do. You spend 60, 70, 80 bucks for a game and then realize a week later that it was just a one playthrough game. And you're like, oh, oof. Nothing against one playthrough games, it's just what happens so often. It's like, ooh. No bang for the buck. Especially when you pay out of pocket and you don't have a company just tossing you keys for free. I don't think Fang saw me. I just met you. Ain't this crazy? I want to watch where she's running first to get an idea. Oh, holy freaking ping is bad shit. Bad shit, crazy pinger. And latency. Went from a sure swing hit to her teleporting. Big oops. Not a big deal though, because she could be having internet issues. I do know DBD's connection has been very wonky the last few weeks. Ah, I didn't swing fast enough around. Oh, I got stuck. Goes Tommy. Okay. That is a very weird thing to do, friend, but what am I to argue? I'll take it. Oh, there's a hook right here. Up you go. That bottom perk, that's why we bring it. Let's see, where's everyone hiding? We got booners. Hey look, I didn't break that door open. What do you know? It's a conspiracy, I tell you. Yeah, conspiracy. Massive conspiracy, man. Yeah, flashlight save? It'd be faster. Nice trade. I might have to play a little dickish now that I think about it. Just to get out of bronze. After all, it's still reset week, so you still have that whole jungle Mongol mesh. Hey Fang. I just met you. Ain't this crazy? Here's my hatchet. I thought she was going right. That would have been a hit too. It was bad, man. Hey, buddy. Hey, pal. Hi, friend. I don't think you wanted to be friends. Oof. Big oops. Might have to start doing the whole gen slowdown garbage. I'm just sad because all the way up until reset we were having great games without running it. And now we have everyone wanting to do the whole quick gen rush stuff, so I'd be forced to bring one or two gen slowdowns. I heard someone here, guess not. confused. Hmm. I got spun. It felt bad. Let's see if she's gonna try to like run back around for a save. Or if she just exit out. Nope, she went for save. Smart girl. Dead-hearted. Ah, so close. There's nothing I could have done on that one because if I would have thrown it, the dead hard timing was so perfect that she would have still made it out. The only thing I could have done maybe was when I was right here and she ran off the left. I would have got a good hit here, then I probably could have got it, but not bad. That was a good game on both sides. Okay. Couple of streamers on that one. Hmm. Who do I want to play as though? We get a couple that aren't paying attention, we could really make use of them for what we're doing, but I don't know. Our aim is just not good, and it's just a frustrating game. Hmm. I like to know skill check warnings. Maybe... really punish the skill checks. Hmm. Try that. So I just need to remember page 5. She knows. Yeah, my nose. No, it's allergy season. What are allergies? Um... That back on. I just like that one too much right now. That's fine. That is fine. I'm. Hmm. Ow, that hurt. I almost wonder if we could do a playthrough of Oracle of Seasons as well. I don't know how much time it's gonna take though. Off the top of my head for a while. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. Cape Cake, White Ward, depending on Metamorte. Metamorte. There you go. Alright. Oh. Alright, so it's being moody today. Okay. It's very weird. I tried to re-authenticate to log back in to see chat better. I said that's an not a correct code. I was just saying like, what the hell, man? I typed literally what he said. Say no, right code. So whatever. Typed it again exactly the way it was. It worked. I guess there was a slowdown on the system, maybe? API didn't update. I don't know, something. Kind of weird. Also trying to see if there's like a trend I can maybe do. Like, I'm trying to analyze some of these too, so I'm not gonna get too upset if I get blanked out. I want to see if there's like a trend I can notice with some of these survivors. Like, are they all starting together on purpose? Are they all, like, behavior and analytical kind of shit? Try to really figure out what they're doing and what I can try to do to break up the flow a bit. Because right now I feel like they have, just off the last couple of days, just too much going for them. Obviously there's a lot of drawbacks, but I just feel that way, you know? Like, there's just too much going right for them the last couple of days. I don't know if a partner pushed out a new How to Annoy the Fuck Out of Killer Guide 2.0, and everyone and their brother's running it, and I'm just oblivious to it? Or what? Yeah, she's just hiding in this corner. It's fine. I can't waste too much time on her. I'll let her win the battle, but not the war. Waste too much time, all the gens pop, and then we're just fucked. Nice bug. Very, very good bug game. Really enjoyed the intro point to a brick wall. That's everyone's favorite. Much appreciated. Probably a horrible idea, but let's see. That's fine. Thank you. You saved me a hook. I still get credit for the kill. And I save a hook. Need one over here. Especially since this is a totem, everything combo. Just get one right there. Ah, that's fun. All right. Engine's dead. I just want to double check that one was first. No, I don't have a wombo combo double kind of thing. Why do I keep getting stuck in those little micro corners? Weird. Duck out a stump. Oh god. Hell. Not embargo, but okay. There she is. Alright. I thought they had a blueprint offering. Oh, that's right, I can't see what they have. Wait. Oh, they don't. Okay. I thought they did. My bad. Yeah, I honestly have no damn clue where it's at. Hey, Silicon, how you doing? I am too, I honestly am. I think there's a lot of good Survivor and Killer ones. I don't know, I'm a little torn on the heels. On a killer perspective, something has to be done on heals. It just has to. You can't, it just, something had to change. But I do think maybe it's a little too punishing. Like, I think in an ideal situation, a survivor should never be able to go from 0 to full within a chase within like 5 seconds. Like, that should not realistically be an option. Like, you shouldn't be able to take a survivor's 3-4 minutes worth of work and invalidate in 5 seconds under any circumstance. That's just a big oof. Especially when you combine third chance, fourth chance, and fifth chance perks, it's just... But on the same token also, like I said, I feel like it's a little too extreme to go like 30, 40 second heals. That's just a little too rough. I do think there should be way more rewards for healing other people. So I do agree with faster healing if a teammate heals you. That also introduces sort of like a healer kind of role to the game. Which, you know, it's always been there, but yeah. Just puts a little bit more emphasis on it. Good job. GG's. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. The other thing that I think they could have done a little bit better, and nobody would have liked it, is I think they could have gone back to some of the killer perks and buffed them a bit. Pretty good team. So like we have the like give 20 seconds for healing for survivors will be fine, right? For medkits. And then when you factor in all the add-ons they throw on, it'll be like what, 15 seconds? With all the special little bandages, sponges, little syringe thing. All that will drop it down to about like 15 seconds. Fine. But let's take some of these useless killer perks and buff them a little. To be a little bit more mean. You know, like the only one we have that's punishing for healing is Sloppy Butcher. That's it. That's 25%. And that applies hemorrhage and mangled until fully healed. That's cool, right? I mean, it sucks if you're a survivor, but it's something. So why can't we take Septic Touch and rework it? Maybe make it a... Yeah, I mean, still do some of the base changes, because like right now, even with, if we were to do all these changes to Killer, with Survivor alone, it's just, it's unbearable. So, like, make the change at 20, but then, like, rework some of these Killer perks that are dead, and I see no play, even outside of niche value, to work on something like Septic Touch. So this one is whenever a survivor performs a healing action within your terror radius, that survivor suffers from blindness and exhausted. Let's get rid of the terror radius part. Get rid of the terror radius, so that way whenever a survivor is healing, they suffer from blindness and exhausted. Keep everything else about the perk the same. Yeah, that's a drastic change, but guess what? It's one perk. So you could run that with Sloppy Butcher, and you could really punish healing, but you're not making it an unbearably long healing. You're just making it, okay, I have to heal. It's going to be 25% slower, but once I do that, hemorrhage and mangled are gone. Easy. But while I'm healing, I'm blind. So yeah, you can still heal fast, but you're blind. That means you don't see my aura. You're exhausted, which means once you're finished healing for 10 seconds, 10 seconds after you're done healing, you can't just dead hard, sprint burst. You know, you just can't zip you across the map. So make it one of those things to where the survivor has to be smart. They have to go choose a corner or a spot on the map to go heal in and then go off. You know, it puts more pressure on the survivor to fear the actual killer, which I know is a radical thing, that a survivor has to be scared of a killer. But I think that would be a radically good change, because then the survivor has to respect the fact that the killer's a killer. Which means if you want to go heal, you need to go be in a safe spot. You can't just go, pallet, drop. Okay, let me quick heal. Oh, the pallet's done healing, or the pallet's now broken, I'm done healing, and off I go. You wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So I think a change to that would be substantial. The other thing you could do is take one of these other perks, like Knockout. Like, Knockout's cool. You could change something else on this. Instead of, I don't know. Probably leave that one alone. I don't think you adding anything more else that would be worthwhile. But you get the idea. You could take one or two of these small perks that have something to it and change it up to make it worthwhile. I think the septic touch one alone would be great. It would add a lot of pressure to it. Yeah. Too scared to come to chase, same. But I've seen so many survivors that are very well experienced, or shall I say seasoned, that they know perfectly well where the good loops are. They go straight to those good loops, drop the pallet, and now they know that the killer's stuck in one of two scenarios. They loop for 10-20 minutes, and then they stop and heal in between. Or they break the pallet and try to be aggressive, and the survivor just counter loops around until the killer gives up, or until they hit Bloodlust 3 to try to catch up. But by that point, they should have the heal off to run away. The other thing I would like to see changed is it actually dope as hell. You know how you have your HUD right now with your UI that tells you what the survivors are doing? What if the killers actually had a special trait to fuck with that? I imagine the doctor with his shocking ability. Maybe something like that to where it gives you a false idea of what the survivor's doing. So if they're working on gen, it'll say booning a totem. If they're booning a totem, it may say healing, you know, just switch the icons around when that ability's going on to really fuck with that. I think that'd be hilariously fun. Even the ability to just simply go, oh no, you're in the Skull Merchant's drone area. So you have static interference. You can't see your UI until you leave it. I think it'd be hilarious. It'd be awesome. It wouldn't be OP. It's a counter to it to get the hell out of the area. Then on the survivor end, you could really fuck with the killer by introducing some small minor stuff. Like, I think what would be neat, and this wouldn't be OP at all in the slightest to do. What if you give survivors a alarm wire? Because we already gave them totems, so there's no point in making the argument of, well, we can't give survivors what killers have. Because killers have totems, survivors have totems. Killers can interact with generators, survivors can interact with generators. So why not give them a special kind of trap? Nothing that impedes the killer's speed, because that's not going to be worthwhile. But like set up a little perimeter wire. Maybe like a part of the perk you get 2. And maybe a special add-on that allows you to have 3. Similar to where you have like the band-aids and gauze. Maybe like a special one that will allow you to have a maximum of 3. And then you can set them up anywhere on the map. And the killer doesn't know if he walks over it. But when he walks over it, it immediately triggers the alert where he's at. And then that aura will last for, I don't know, 2-3 seconds. So that way you could be like, okay, I want to... This is a 3-gen area. I want to sort of set up a trap here, here, here. Boom, done. There's so many cool little teeny tiny things they could do that wouldn't make survivors so OP, wouldn't make killers so OP, but would add another dynamic to the game. Like, the game itself, I honestly don't think needs another mode. I think adding a unlimited mode for custom games is fine, because then you're playing on your own server and all that stuff. So doing like a 2v8, 3v12, whatever, on a custom game is fine, but like for official regular these kind of things, Then we drop a drone here. I don't see where you ran off to. That's bad. Like, honestly, the only other thing behavior could do to mimic or change gameplay is to add a true solo queue. Like have the current one, which is a wide open option, but then create an option to where you only play with solo queue players, survivor or killer. So that way your options are whatever's tossed at you, or you're tossing a true 1+1+1+1 versus 1. And then whatever mode has a longer queue, you add a blood point bonus too. So if Survivor Friends has a very long queue, you have a blood point bonus to get people motivated to queue up friends. Solo queue has a very long effort, then, well, do that. And then we'll also help out by determining which stuff is way overpowered in what situations. If Survivor Friends queue is extremely quick and everybody's playing that and said perk is #1 on list, then, well, you know, there's probably a correlation to it. Where if that perk is non-existent in a true solo queue, then you can figure out where the issue is. That's my 2 cents. I'm not a game dev, I'm not a programmer. So what I'm saying could probably be impossible to do in the long run, but who knows? I walked right into that. Feels bad. What I do hope, though, because we know there's a different community manager or developer manager, whatever you want to call it, for the game. And what I truly do hope is that they don't fall into the same trap as World of Warcraft. They don't fall into the same trap as Guild Wars 2. They don't fall into the same trap as New World, where they only listen to Twitch partners and content creators that they partner. Like, I really, really, truly hope they don't fall into that trap. And I get the irony behind that because I'm streaming and I'm playing a game and I'm talking. But strictly as a player, not as a content creator, content creators usually don't have the best ideas for the general game population. They have great ideas of how to make content, but not great ideas for, you know, the other 99% of the player base that's playing the game. The best example I'll give off that is there's a 2 or 3 Twitch partners who talked about how useless the PlayStation 5 controller is because of the speaker function and how their chat can't interact with it. And they completely forget and neglect that, you know, there's people who don't stream who, you know, play PlayStation 5, and that function's actually very immersive. But to them, it's useless because they can't make money off it. So, on the PlayStation 5 controller, there's a small little speaker. And some games utilize it very well, like Demon's Souls and a couple other little spooky games. I'll show you right after I hook it, somebody. You're right there. I'm gonna go this way. Oh, there's none on that side. Rip. That's Survivor. Dude, my dude. Chill the fuck out. There better be crows over there. There's not crows over there, and you're just being a dick. I'm gonna be mad. Yeah, you're just being a dick jumping over and over and over again. Quit. Here? Here? Okay. Here. What are you guys doing? I'm confused. You guys are giving me a headache. Are you done? I don't know what they're doing. I'm so confused. I thought they wanted the Autogon because she was AFK. I guess not. I don't know what they were doing. But anyways, there's a speaker and a controller. It's the little dot you see above the PlayStation logo between two sticks. And in some games, it would implement unique stuff. Like in Demon's Souls, you could occasionally hear demons whispering through it, real faintly. In God of War, you could hear small audio stuff like the axe or bowstrings. And what was it? Robin Hood Outlaws or Outlaws Robin Hood, something like that. A little niche PvP game that came out a couple years ago. Whenever you would get an arrow on your bow, you would actually hear the string tighten. And it was precise, accurate to how far back the string was going. And then when you let go, you would get the little whoosh, little sound effect. And then you would get the haptic feedback from the controller vibrating from when the string was released. NHL, I think it was 22 or was it 23, you would get audio from like the referee. So you would hear the referee's whistle through the controller. Can I make it to basement? Because I need 5, I think, for the stone. No, the only thing DBD used for PS5, and it's sad, is the, instead of rumble, haptics enabled. That's it. It's not even... They didn't use the triggers on a controller, which is weird. They didn't use the light bar on the controller, which is weird. They didn't use the speakers. They didn't use anything for the PS5 controller. They just went haptic, turn on. That was it. They didn't do anything else. Which is sad, because there's so much they could have done with the PS5 controller. Have a light bar light up if you're a survivor whenever you got hit would have been dope. If you're a killer, have your pulse red. Whenever your abilities were fully charged. I don't know if you know it's Auto that's being a dick. I mean, there's 4 gens, so I might as well play around. Honestly, I can't tell if it's the Auto or the thing that's being a dick. They both are doing the whole teleporty thingy, or jumping over thingy. But yeah, for DVD, they didn't do any unique stuff for PlayStation, which is weird. But understandable at the same time. If they did it for PlayStation, then Xbox is going to sit there and say that they want their own special stuff supported. Nintendo is probably going to want their own unique special stuff, so I can see why not, but a little bit of a missed opportunity. I want to get rid of Ada. You guys want to show or no? Show? Show? Alright, so what do you want? Yes, I see the pallet. Now what? What do you want to show me now? Okay. Are you just trying to show me where every pallet is on the game? You're like... Yep, that's a pallet. I see it. Alright, now what do you want to show me? Yep. Okay. I am so freaking confused. Are you really gonna make me break every pallet on the map? Really? Come on, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to build a work on a gen. I'm fine with you guys working on gens. Just saying. You're gonna make me break the door down? I'm not gonna be that much of a dick. If you guys want to break it, break it. I'm not that heartless. Be a little. Are you guys really that bored? I think they're taking my kindness too seriously now. I think you could take the gen. Now that you can boon up and nuke the damn chest. That wasn't even my hex totem. That's uncalled for. But to be fair, I know how it feels to be stuck in a bad game. We had like a day and a half of nothing but absolute try-hard SEAL Team 6 kind of survivors. So I'm not going to be that brutal. I'll let him pop one more gen and then I'll take him out. Oh, look at that one. Right here. Workbench in. Over here. Really? 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 No, that one wasn't even near you. You're getting greedy. You're getting straight up greedy. Leave the drone alone. Leave the drone alone. Don't. Don't you do it. Fuck are you doing? You guys are getting greedy. Where did she go? I don't see where she went. It's like babysitting. This whole match has me so confused. Hey Frederick, how you doing? Not where one gate is. I didn't see where the other one is. Is there only one gate? No, there's two gates. Holy hell, I'm blind. That's fine. Ouch. Yeah, lurk. Alright, hope you enjoy your lurks, and as always, thank you for being here, Silica. I really appreciate it. Give item. I want item. Nope. Give item. I want the item. No. What part of give item are you lost on? Give the item. I want item. No. Don't you. Really? Give me the item. I want the item. I want item. Give item. Okay. That's not... I wanted a lay item. If she would have gave the item, I would let her out. Drop the Z-Med kit. All I wanted. On PSVR, it should be good soon. Make sure you have some like crackers or water or something to settle the stomach out. Yeah, hopefully the stomach feels better, Mom. And the head. Dehydrated water. I like that name. That was an interesting game. See, anyone close to leveling up that I could drop points on or no? And again, happy Easter to any of our Orthodox friends that are listening in. Hope you guys are all having a good one. I don't see anyone really close that could really use the points. Yeah. Oh well. And again, what about the Survivor side? I didn't think about that. Because I haven't been able to get into a Survivor game anyways, because long as queues, but... Where is our Athenalita sitting at? Get her a couple levels real quick. A purple toolbox. Nice. Alright, load out. Let's see if we get one Survivor game for the hell of it. It's been a while since we did Survivor. Try to see if we get anything. We were going to play Zelda today. We're big emphasis on work. I don't think we were able to get it done by Tuesday, and Tuesday is DBD patch day. All the new changes and cosmetics and everything. I didn't want to risk it because the one thing I hate doing, and I hate it with a passion, is starting a game and not finishing it. That really bothers the hell out of me. So, yeah, Monday, Tomorrow, I don't know what we'll do. I have to wait and see. Probably give this another minute, and if we don't get into a queue within a minute, we'll switch back to killer real quick. But it just shows how freaking long the queue is for me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's even the same for Soka or any of our friends. Kind of weird, because I know when I see other people play Survivor, their queues are like non-existent. Or almost non-existent. Yep, see what I mean? Too long. That is why I mostly play killer. Because I don't have to wait that long. Does it take that long for you? Interesting. Yeah, it takes me freaking forever. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Oh. My daily sellout. Well, my one daily sellout moment. Mostly because I keep forgetting to mention it. Throw link in chat is actually one of the better ways to get a hold of me in terms of gifting or doing anything like that. Obviously not required. Great thing about it, your information's private, my information's private, we don't see each other's names, we don't see each other's addresses, we don't see any of that shit. So, 100% confidentiality between those two. You could suggest stuff, if I approve it, and you pay for it, then it gets shipped to my address, and it just says Throne, it doesn't have your name or anything on it, so... Great way to do it if you want to be anonymous. And that concludes my sellout moment for today. Bum-ba-da-bum-bum-bum. Alright, so 30. I want to try something different this time. Let's replace the skull with Sacrificial Ward. I want to see how much this manipulates some things too, because I know another thing is that everyone likes to throw a map offering in. See if we get them to try to pull a RPD or something, and then get fucked on Eerie of Crows. A Claudette, a Kate, an Ashley, and a Fang. Okay. Okay. Up. Last minute switch. Okay. Okay. And we rejected nothing. Feels bad. Feels bad. Okay. Makes sense. Sort of. Not really. Or makes sense of something. Sort of. Sort of. Treatment theater. This is going to go extremely well or it's going to go extremely bad. Just like everything else. But let's see. Sometimes I have awesome matches on these. Sometimes I have absolutely face rolled with like barely any hooks. So let's see how this one goes. Hey, Meg. I feel bad for Meg. Always the butt of everyone's jokes. She spun me. Emoji Pro Meg. Also, for those that have BTV, there is some DVD emotes you could use. And I need to work on some Twitch ones for other stuff, but I'll get to that later. It's not a priority at the moment. That is another thing that needs to be fixed with Skull Merchant, is the drones need to quit bouncing off objects. When you set them in one spot, that's sort of where I want them. I don't want them to shift and bounce and rotate all over the place. Oh, I'm not even on the right spot. Thought I had a couple more inches. Rip. Alright, so little Miss Claudette is upstairs. She was upstairs. That was a bad swing. We have an Ashley. Pop that up. Going back up. Middle will probably pop next, I'd imagine. Yeah, they're trying to interfere with the mid. Act like we don't see. I went for the grab and then prof, you're kidding me. How did I get screwed on that? I got screwed. I don't think it's a good idea in hindsight, because if somebody was to flashlight save, because you have no clue if I have Lightborn or not, you would have just fucked your team. Alright, and you have probably power struggle and flip-flop on, so I'll just leave you there. Not worth the headache. I don't know where else he could have went. That was weird. So Kate, we're just gonna purposely lead out, but there's just nothing else I could do. Oh, I got nowhere to go. I need to find that Meg. I'm hoping it didn't bug out. I don't know how I keep getting suctioned into that stuff. Nothing is more fucking annoying. And you go for a swing, and then you get pulled completely in the opposite direction. I don't understand it. I really don't. It makes no damn sense. I wanted to see if I could loose where she was. And we did. But damn, did it take a while. I like that perk, man. And now you're broken. I'm surprised you didn't go for the drone since, you know, it wouldn't matter if you get 100% or not on that. Okay. Come on, drop it. Drop it. What other pilots can you show me, Fern, since you're dropping everything in a row? Ooh, you didn't drop it. I see. Oh, dude, where the hell are you? maybe right over here.
Hey!
I don't know.
Yeah!
I know she's somewhere in this area still. I did see her in this area. I just have no freaking clue where. See, can I get a lucky bounce? Eh, not really. There's a Meg. Double play. GG's. For the longest time. Oh, you got out. Nice. GG. Yep. GG's. GG's. Yep. Yep. I see you. Yep. You only have one hook state left. Out you go. Come on. Not bad. Meg actually had a lot of fun against. I don't know why I can't see people's names when I do that. It's weird. It doesn't show. It only gives the block button option. Bow, 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 bow. Oh yeah, derp. We probably got time for one, maybe two more games left on night. Big stretch. And I have a raid idea too. Especially if this person keeps going. I think we could have a hilarious troll opportunity. Yeah, this will work. Come on, Jonah. Jonah. There we go. I love that Kate skin. I really, really love this Scarecrow Kate skin. Probably one of my favorites for survivors. Hatch, Killer Shack. Okay. Okie dokie. It's 72 degrees. I'm cold. Ouch. It says it's raining outside, but it's not. This is like false advertisement button. How is it supposed to be raining if it's not raining? I know for a fact it's not raining. But yet it says it's thunderstorming. Hmm. Hmm. Raccoon City, Police Station West Wing. 1, 2. I see 2. Where's 3 and 4? Just met you. It's crazy. No more skill checks. Where the fuck are you hiding? John Wick style survivors. Did you have a brand new part? I find it a little sus that you were next to 2 gens and they were real quick. I don't think they were quick enough to have either done. That was a bad idea. Let's break up this one. Smack. Pop this up. No, that's too far. That's too far, fam. What I will do is this, though. I will do this. What about they're just leaving him hanging? Like, we don't give a fuck if he dies. If I get you down, you know that generator explodes, right? 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 Bye-bye, generator. Bye-bye. Up you go. Reactivate that. One, two. Oh, that's a dick move. You gonna leave homeboy dying? Man. They legit just left him dying. They're like, nah, fuck you. I got 2.5 hook stages for free. Back. Up you go. My dude, you just invalidated everything. You know that couple second head start you needed to survive? Yeah, that's gone. To be fair, it's gone anyways now, because 6 seconds, but still. See if I can penetrate down below. Ah. Rippers. Nice. Fuck, man. And that respect is lost. That was like the one play you had not to make, and you made it. Why? I don't know. One bites to dust. That one up. Those two are gone. Damn it. Let her go. She has very little options she could do at the moment. I don't think there's anything they could do on that end. Pretty much just these three gens. And they overlap perfectly too. Yeah, one way back there, that's fine. I didn't go for the pallets. That was weird. Oof. Good chases. There we go. She's like the most dangerous one out of the group. And sadly, I sort of have to tunnel her. Because the other three, or the other two, I feel like are competent enough that it won't matter. Fuck. Well played. I have no clue where she's at. She went pretty safe. Okay. Upstairs. That's 4. We're probably not gonna get this one, because this map's also very weird on gates. Yeah, she's on this one. Wee-oo, 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 wee-oo. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Wee woo. Wee woo. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Oh, he's stuck. GG. Almost. Yeah, she almost had it. Well played. Nice. Hmm. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, so that is over 2 hours. So we will wrap it up there for tonight. Because remember, Sundays I always like to keep around 2 hours just to keep things nice and short and easy. As always, thank you for hanging out. I truly appreciate it. I hope you all have a good night's rest, a great day tomorrow. We'll probably play this tomorrow. I might try to do like a different color besides School Merchant. I don't know. Maybe stay on School Merchant. I don't know. I'll probably do some like little challenge. Maybe like a random challenge. Like a spin a wheel, pick the perk kind of thing. But we'll figure it out. As always, thank you for everything. Hope you have a good night's rest. Great day tomorrow. Great start to your week. And I'll see you guys later.